And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about the top 24 free agents that are going into this off season. There's so many more free agents that are out there, and I have a huge list on them right here. And I took the top 25 that I've seen, like, in my personal opinion. I took the top 25 out of all of these players on this list, and I went ahead and I just decided to write down my opinions on them and talk a little bit about them, what I think is going to happen to them in the future. And some of them I left off, and I'll talk a little bit about why I left some of these players off as well in these three segments, because I have a feeling that this segment is going to be much longer than a lot of the other segments. So I'm just going to have it as the third, the fourth, and the fifth segment, because I have a feeling it's just going to be that much longer. So let's just go right ahead and get ready to talk about the first free agent in the next season, and that is LeBron. Everyone's favorite player to hate, whatever you want to call it, the greatest basketball player of all time, no questions asked. And he is not going to be he's not going to be an unrestricted free agent going into this offseason, but he does have a player option. So it's like he could either take the player option or he could decline the player option and become an unrestricted free agent. So as of right now, he still has that player option available, and we'll have to see sort of how the draft goes, in my opinion, because there's a theory that LeBron is going to try and get on the same team that his son is going to play for, and that is probably the main reason as to why he even has that player option in the first place, so that way he could choose between either playing with his son or trying to get more championship rings, because there is also a report saying that the Lakers believe that they are in a position to be able to compete for the championship if they make the right moves in this free agency, if they make the right trades, all that kind of thing. Like, LeBron isn't going to try and get out of his situation in LA if he feels like the Lakers have an opportunity to win. So that's sort of like the premise on LeBron and his and what he's going to decide to do. LeBron, he seems like a lock to elect free agency, despite having a $51.4 million player option for next season. And a return to the Lakers, however, it does seem very plausible, but the added fact that, again, his son is going to get drafted in this draft, nobody is exactly quite sure of where he's going to go towards the end of this offseason. If he's going to follow his son, if he's not going to follow his son, that is still uncertain. LeBron will average 25 points, 7 rebounds, and shot 50% from the field, 41% from three. This is the highest that he shot in his entire NBA career from the three-point line. I mean, he's the oldest player in the NBA, and he's shooting the best in his entire career. That is adapting his game. That is changing his game. We've seen all of these players. Hell, we've seen Al Horford, an NBA veteran, and he's been playing in the league for the longest time. He was there when the big men weren't supposed to shoot, and they were supposed to shoot mid-ranges, and then he completely changed his game to the point where now he is known for his three-point shooting and his corner shooting, and just being an elite all-around defender as well, and being a spot-up threat. That's really what's going on right here with Al Horford, and the same thing that's going on with LeBron, completely revamping his game. And we'll just have to see exactly what goes forth in the next season. So I talked a little bit more about LeBron than I should. Things happen. Boo hoo. It's my segment. I can do what I want. So here we will go ahead and talk about Paul George. He is the next best free agent, and several other teams are very interested in him. The Knicks are interested in him. The Sixers seem to be really interested in him, and the Sixers, they seem to be like the best legitimate landing spot for Paul George. He also has a player option available from the Clippers, but again, it's like, going over to Philly, that seems to be the idea for Paul George. Recently in the NBA Finals, when Paul George made his first NBA Finals appearance as an announcer, he was also making a finals appearance with Joel Embiid. And if you guys don't know, Joel Embiid is the best player on the 76ers, and that is the team that Paul George is expected to go to in free agency. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of talking about teaming up with each other going into free agency. And, I'll explain a little bit as to why in later, because there are some other players on the Sixers that are also going to become free agents that I feel like the Sixers can deal without, and they can get rid of them and then replace them essentially with Paul George, because Paul George is going to be expecting a max contract from whichever team is interested in him, assuming that the Clippers cannot match that max contract, or the Clippers don't offer him a max contract. So he has plenty. He almost entered the 50-40-90 club this previous season. He averaged 47% from the field. That was really what was bringing him down, and shot 41% from three and 90% from the line. And it's clear that the 9-time All-Star can still be a number one or a number two option in the league on a contending roster, and his shot making ability and his perimeter defense would be a tremendous asset to any basketball organization. I personally think it's going to be the Sixers, but we'll see later on in the future, because the Knicks, they're also interested. I don't really think the Knicks are going to be able to get Paul George to go to New York, but given how there's already Jalen Brunson there, and maybe he doesn't want to team up with a guard, maybe he'll want to team up with a center, but we'll see. The next player that is going to be a free agent that I have on this list is Tyrese Maxey. He is going to be an unrestricted free agent this upcoming season. And, Maxey, it's like most likely he's going to go back to the 76ers, despite the fact he's an unrestricted free agent. And Daryl Morey, he really wants to build the team around Maxey and Joel Embiid as the faces of the 76ers. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tyrese Maxey, he ends up, despite the fact that he is going to be an unrestricted actually no, not an unrestricted free agent, a restricted free agent. Excuse me, my bad. He is a restricted free agent. He averaged 25 points per game, 45% from the field, and 37% from three, with 6 assists as well. He is going to be, maybe a number 2 option at the very most, maybe even a number 3 option if Paul George ends up joining the 76ers. And he was a very good option in the postseason. He was a scorer. He was phenomenal. Despite the fact that they got absolutely owned by the New York Knicks, they were great. Like, the two of them, they were great. And what kind of money should be expected from Maxey going into the future? Well, this is surprising to me. He made $4.3 million last year off of just his contract with the Sixers. That is incredibly low, coming in like from a player that averaged 25 points per game. So I definitely feel like he's going to want to ask for more money in the future. And maybe if Paul George signs that extension, the Sixers might not have enough money to be able to sign him, give Embiid an extension, as well as give Maxey an extension. So, but then again, I have no idea. We'll have to see exactly whether or not they even get Paul George, and if they do get Maxey again, have to see how much, have to see if Maxey is also, if he's willing to take a pay cut, because we've seen it that James Harden was willing to take a pay cut from the Sixers in hopes of getting better players to put them in a better position to win, even though that did nothing other than just make Harden lose more money. Really, that's the only thing that happened when he took the pay cut. He just didn't make the enough money, or as much money as he wanted to. So that's all I have for this third segment. So again, I'm going to just pivot over to the fourth segment where I continue with this topic, and it's basically just doing a break, and I'm going to continue with this topic on free agency because there is a whole lot more. I only talked about 3. So be sure to stay tuned for the next segment. I will be right back right after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.